of any nation. Now that the dark clouds over the 2023 general elections have disappeared with the conduct of today's election, what remains now is consolidating for a better nation from whoever wins at the polls, from the votes of more than 93 million eligible voters.
That commentary on the 2023 general election and the big issues was written by Olufemi Fulani and presented by Kevin Ogu. To end the news, here's a recap of the major stories. INEC has attributed the late commencement of voting in some parts of the country to insecurity. We also focus on situation reports on today's election exercise. The APC vice presidential candidate wants extension of voting period to 6 p.m. You also heard that Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has called on Nigerians to ignore unverified election results. And that's the news as edited by Olayemi Daniel and the production team. My name is Tese Nzuga. Thank you for listening. You're still on to the network service of Radio Nigeria. It's time for Monday Studio, and Suleiman Musa is standing by.
Good afternoon, listeners, and welcome to Mandate Studios. It's raining right now in Abuja, as most Nigerians will say, is the showers of blessing. History is being made all over the country as Nigerians decide. Yes, according to reports filtering in, elections have been concluded in some wards, but in so many wards across Nigeria, voting is ongoing. Welcome to Monday Studio. I am Suleiman Musa. On this second leg of our broadcast on Election Day, we will be engaging with our resource persons right in the studio. Our numerous correspondents across the country, and of course, here and there, we will also bring you some special reports on the history of the presidential election, expectations of Nigerians, and many more. Do stay with us. You could also follow us. You could also follow our live streaming on YouTube at Radio Nigeria Network and on Facebook on /Radio Nigeria Network. You can join the conversation on hashtag Radio Nigeria. To examine the unfolding events in the election with me in the studio and Mr. Austin Ibe of the Center of Democracy and Development and Mr. Osariti Imahierebo, a retired director and administrative secretary of INEC. Gentlemen, you are welcome to Monday Studio. Um, in the morning, we heard from the updates from our correspondents from across the country of some violence here and there in some parts of the country and the FCT. Let me start with you, Mr. Osariti. Um, what's your take on development?
I we thought that by now Nigeria should be right to the politics, but from what we are seeing, something that is taking us away in time. Kind of violence or the report that we're hearing too does not really offer well for us. Maybe because a lot of people are thinking that it's through violence that they can get into people into certain positions. In this sense, I think that we should be able to question ourselves. If we want this democracy to consolidate, we need to put away sentiments and focus on the electoral process so that democracy can get stronger and stronger.
Austin, what's your assessment of the election so far?
Right now, pretty the election is going on in a fantastic manner. Election is not just about the voting. The process starts some months ago. This is like one of the critical aspects of it, which is the re-voting. And then there has to be collation, then the declaration of result at some point. But for the now, what we continue to see is that reports are coming in, whether it's the one you talked about just now, about reported violence, the report about late deployment of materials, the report just coming in now, and results are already coming in from the polling units already. So it's the process has been going on, particularly in Abuja. If you stay with that city, you may not be able to get the true sense of what's happening across the country. In Abuja, it's been fantastic. Abuja has been really fantastic, fantastic. Peace. All I walked around the city from Lugbeazis to Karo area, Nyanya to Wuye to Wuse, Metama. The landscape in that city look very remarkable and it's good.
Osariti, being a member of the INEC family, voters observed that the ballot papers were not uniform. What could be responsible for this from your own insight?
Uniform in what sense?
Some claim that there were some certain disparities in the in the ballot papers.
Yeah, but when we're printing, before the INEC will print any ballot paper, the parties are expected to bring in their real logos. So based on what permits that is printed, the commission cannot go ahead and print any logo without the approval of what we register, the parties registered as their logo. So if there are those disparities, it might be some areas where let me, I don't want to, for instance, the issue right now is that Labour is saying that their logo was not there. And what it means is that what they said they needed just the mother, child, and whatever, not Labour. But a lot of people were thinking that, okay, it should be Labour Party. But what they are finding is the mother, child, father thing in the logo. So you can't blame it for that. It is what you submitted that you know.
There are also instances where a lot of voters today had issues locating their polling units and had to be going around circles. Is this kind of strange to you? Did you feel those kind of situations while monitoring?
Yeah, we not most times we blame INEC for most of the situations that most of the things that happen in the country. INEC has been publicizing that we do what we call polling unit location. The sites we give out what people should do, and a lot of people got their text messages, and they expected that it is expected that you should have known more about where you're going to vote before the day. But some people just came out today. If you go to some in that city here, for instance, go to some area, you'll find out that in some polling units, maybe in the area 10 here, for instance, close to your radio station there, you find out that opposite the post office is crowded. But there are some new polling units created. If you check near the marriage registry in Borno Street, the officials are just sitting. Nobody is coming there. The reason is that some people they sent text messages to did not even bother to check those areas where they ought to vote. And so that is where you have some of the challenges. And some polling units are crowded, while some other polling polling units are empty because it is when I voted, for instance, at the post office. My wife voted closer to another place, yet we're supposed to be in the same polling unit. But they sent her a text message and said, "Look, you have been migrated to another polling unit close by the post office." And she had to walk along that line. But some other people waited until today before they could identify where they were migrated to. Yes, but within the same vicinity. That is where it is. But nobody was taken away from far away from their polling unit to a far distance where they cannot locate. So the polling units are around the same area, but because you said if you have more than 500 in a polling unit, you take the remaining one to the nearby polling unit that has been created. So it is not strange. Before now, you used to have what you call baby units. Those baby units and people had become a full-fledged polling unit. And so that is where you now find those who were migrated. But if they sent you a text message to say you have been migrated to another polling unit, it is expected that anybody that got such text messages should have gone to check where the next polling unit is, not at the day of the election. That is where that is where a lot of people are having polling. A lot of people are moving around trying to check their polling unit. Right now, some of them are just moving to getting to identify their polling unit close to the closing hours of the election.
Austin, violence has been reported in some states, in some areas. There was an actual news of a bomb blast in Adamawa. What do you make of this?
So election comes with a lot of tension, a lot of anxiety, and people wanted to grab power by all means. I overheard two police officers talking about violence in the morning, no, yesterday, and one of them asked, "This election, in which that this election will be peaceful," and the other just said, "How can election be peaceful?" And I said, well, peaceful in the sense that in which that nobody will die in the election, that there will be no violence. And the other one now asked, and now had to say, have there ever been an election where there won't be violence and at least somebody won't be killed? In my subconsciousness, that's almost like the election in Africa, in West Africa. The quest for political acquisition is the reason why all of this violence. People want to do everything within and outside of their powers to just grab it. We now know in certain areas. I mean, I was expecting more from Northeast because of the historical crisis, a violent crisis in that area. I was expecting to hear more also from Northwest, particularly in Kaduna, where we have historically know about bandit attacks and all of that. I'm still expecting, hope that it will be very peaceful, but somehow Southeast, where we're expecting more, that more violence will come from. Southeast seems, I'm not too sure the beehive that we expected that come from Southeast. They seem to be a bit slowed down, even though in the morning deployment of materials in the Southeast region, as it were, was very low, as very early in the morning, about 8 a.m. It was about 6% deployment rate in one area. In the whole local government in Imo, there are not many deployment. But to speak directly is that there were risk assessment that were done. A lot of risk assessment went into this election, and those mapping on risk about location were really targeted. And that's why you saw that ahead of the election, INEC said polling will not happen in 240 polling units. And for many reasons, it was because of the movement that I just talked about just now, that in certain polling units, many people didn't know they'd be moved. One or two polling units had just a handful of voters. And in many others, it was due to security. And I think right now, what we saw in 2019, I hope it doesn't get to that point.
Amen.
Amen.
Our correspondents are still on the field all over the country, monitoring proceedings at different polling units, and we'll be taking some updates from them now. Presidential elections in Nigeria is a big deal, and it's a practice that has been on since independence, as Abubakar Bestu tells us in this report.
The first presidential election was conducted in August 1979, setting aside the parliamentary system inherited from the colonial masters. The elections engineered by the then military government of General Olusegun Obasanjo adopted a multi-party democracy where 5 political parties contested. The
political parties were the National Party of Nigeria, NPN, the Nigerian People's Party, NPP, United Nigeria People's Party, UNPP, People's Redemption Party, PRP, and the Great Nigeria People's Party, GNPP. The keenly contested election was won by the NPN, whose candidate was Alhaji Shehu Shagari, making him the first elected president of Nigeria and sworn in on the 1st of October 1979. In line with the Constitution, a 4-year tenure was adopted for elected president. In August 1983, another fresh presidential election was conducted with an additional political party, the Nigeria Advanced Party, NAP, bringing the total number of political parties to 6. The incumbent Alhaji Shehu Shagari of the NPN was returned elected for a second term in office with 47.5% of the total votes cast in the election, which his opponents described as full of irregularities. However, barely 3 months into Alhaji Shehu Shagari's second term in office, the military struck and sniffed the life out of democracy. The country was once again set on the path of long military rule until 1993, when a democratic transition was put in motion and another presidential election conducted. At that time, in a quest to sanitize the system, the multi-party democracy was abolished and two-horse race political system introduced: the Social Democratic Party (SDP) and the National Republican Convention (NRC). The presidential elections were headed by the military government under General Ibrahim Babangida clearly indicated victory for the candidate of the Social Democratic Party (SDP), Chief Moshood Abiola, against his opponent Alhaji Bashir Tofa of the NRC. But the expectation of millions of Nigerians was crushed when General Ibrahim Babangida, in a national broadcast, announced the election citing irregularities.
There was, in fact, a huge array of electoral malpractices virtually in all the states of the Federation before the actual voting began.
The fallout of the election put a sustained pressure on the military government, which an arrangement that collapsed after 3 months when the military returned. General Sani Abacha was in charge of that military regime, which lasted 5 years. He commenced the process of returning the country to civil rule with a This aspiration came to naught with his sudden death. His successor, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, continued with the transition process, leading to another presidential election in 1999 in a multi-party democracy. The political parties that contested the April 1999 elections were the People's Democratic Party, PDP, the All Nigerian People's Party, ANPP, and the Alliance for Democracy, AD. A former military head of state, General Olusegun Obasanjo, the flag bearer of the PDP, emerged victorious and took the oath of office as the elected president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
I, Olusegun Obasanjo, do solemnly swear that I will be faithful, and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Chief Obasanjo was re-elected for a second term of office in 2003. The sixth presidential election took place in April 2007, bringing on board Umar Musa Yar'Adua of the People's Democratic Party as the president. In 2011, Goodluck Jonathan was returned elected, having taken over as president following the death of Umar Yar'Adua in 2010.
That Goodluck Jonathan of PDP, having satisfied the requirements of the law and scored the highest number of votes, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
We now move over to the International Conference Center, where the National Chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, will brief the nation.
Thank you very much, Suleiman Musa.
Once more, speak to the nation.
We are the International Conference Center once again.
Okay, thank you very
for the
much.
series of briefing, which is the second today, this evening, and is over now to INEC Chairman.
another way. Let me welcome the representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations and head of the
Can you hear me? Can I do that? You can hear. When the news was on, what we did in the tape.
Hello, are you hearing me now? You are hearing me? And then another sister, Davideta Lansana Brown, Chairperson, Electoral Commission of Liberia. Another sister of ours from Southern Africa, Mrs. Elsie Ngikembua, Chairperson of the Barrister Isaka Suna, Chairman, Electoral Commission of Niger Republic. We have Justice Jacobs Mwambakele, Chairman, Electoral Commission of Tanzania. And then my good friend, Mohammed Kone, Chairman, Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone. And there are other officials of other electoral commissions. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to the second briefing of the day. Our intention at this briefing is essentially to give you an update. Some questions were asked in the morning. We said we will provide an update. The first one is the attack in Goza. Goza is in Borno State. I want to report that the military has confirmed that it was an 81 millimeter mortar attack on two facilities, including a filling station near INEC office, but no damage to INEC facilities and no casualties. Some people were injured and they're in hospital. We wish them a speedy recovery, but no destruction of INEC facilities and no disruption of the electoral process. So that is the update on Goza. Unfortunately, we continue to lose some of the bimodal voter accreditation system devices. I reported in the morning the loss of devices in Delta and in Savannah local government area of Katsina State. But unfortunately, we also lost 3 Beavers machines in Ayamelu in Anambra State. But we have recovered from all these losses because we have contingency arrangement to respond to any such attack. There were issues arising from the commencement of the process in Abia, in Imo, and in Kebbi, among other places. I'm happy to say that the process is right now ongoing in Abia. The polling units will remain open well beyond the appointed hour until the last person on the queue before 2:30 votes. In Imo, the process is ongoing except a few RAs or PUs marred by insecurity and thuggery spread across 7 local government areas. And the situation in Kebbi State is stable. Voting is going on mainly in Birnin Kebbi, but earlier it affected Birnin Kebbi and a part of Argungu, but mainly in Birnin Kebbi, but voting is ongoing. But we have a situation in Bayelsa State, particularly in the capital, Yenagoa, where in 4 wards, wards 4, 6, 8, and 14, involving 141 polling units, the process was disrupted. We remobilized security. The situation has come for us to proceed with the process, but the youth corps members expressed some apprehension of going back. So we met with the security agencies and we have decided that voting in these 141 polling units, where the materials are actually intact, will take place tomorrow morning. Remember, we are not only doing presidential election, but we are also doing senatorial and federal constituencies. So it's good as much as possible to recover and conduct the elections so that we can conclude the processes. So the youth corps members who are going to serve as presiding officers and other categories of ad hoc staff are agreeable to the election holding in these locations tomorrow. In Lagos, we have been closely following the situation in Okota, Mofoluku, Oshodi, and Elegushi. We have been able to normalize the situation in a number of places, including Ikate, where voting is ongoing. So we'll keep our eyes on the processes in the other areas that I have mentioned. Polling units in a large number of areas closed, and sorting and counting of ballot papers have commenced. Between the last briefing and this one, we have taken a proactive step by meeting with the Inspector General of Police, the National Security Advisor, and the Commandant General of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. The idea is to strengthen security as we move to the next stage of the process, which is the collation of results in locations where voting has been concluded at the polling units. I would also like to say that in Edo State, we had a situation that we handled yesterday. One of the parties whose acronym is on the result sheet, but the logo is not on the ballot paper in a federal constituency. After meeting with the stakeholders, the decision was taken, since the materials are intact, to countermand the election. So we have suspended the election for Esan North, Esan South, and Igweben. The ballot papers will be reprinted, and the election will now hold along with the state constituency elections on the 11th of March. That is in the next 2 weeks. We are determined that no Nigerian should and would be disenfranchised. So we have been responding to some of the situations as they arise, and we are going to do so overnight. There will be no opportunity for us to brief Nigerians again between now and tomorrow, but if need be, we'll make an announcement and do a briefing before we then open the collation center tomorrow. So this is the update on the situation nationally. But as I said, observers, the media, and all others are also keeping their eyes on the processes and would like to hear from you what you have seen and what more we need to do. In my earlier briefing, I said that the technology actually optimally performed, generally speaking. We're really happy nationwide. This is the first deployment in a major national election, and the technology has given a good account of itself. Yes, we have lost ballot boxes here and there, but it appears that the target of SAGRI is now the bimodal voter accreditation system, the BVAS. But we will continue to protect the process and will continue to proceed courageously to ensure that we conclude this in a very free, fair, and credible manner. We are willing to listen to your comments and take suggestions and observations. But as I said, election, we are in the middle of the election. So we'll take a maximum of 3 interventions because we have to go back to the situation room and to continue to monitor the situation. Thank you very much.
Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, INEC chairman, giving account of the situation report across the country. Indeed, going to entertain 3 questions from the media before this press briefing will be brought to a close. And he indeed mentioned so many areas of concern, Gaza attack, and he said that the issue of Gaza attack did not actually affect INEC facilities.
Online newspapers. Mine is, you mentioned when you were briefing us that BVAS, from the information you have gathered across the nation, has performed optimally. But then the bad guys are targeting BVAS. And knowing now, and you've met with the chiefs of security. Now counting has started, and those BVAS are going to be brought to RAS. And the bad guys, especially in Lagos, and I'm from Imo State, Okigwe in particular, Olo, Osu, they're gonna target the BVAS and hijack them. What are you doing about that?
Good evening, the chairman. Good evening, colleagues. I am Princess Efi Ajide of the Anambra Broadcasting Service. Sir, I want to know what will happen to the results that will emanate from Urokwe Primary School and Umwezubibu Hall or Zobolo, where the ad hoc workers did not come, but voters volunteered and started the work. So incidentally, in some places, they voted, they did the accreditation and waited for some hours before they started voting. So what will be the outcome of the result from that? Please, thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairman. My name is Ogochukwu Kuru, and I report for Radio Nigeria. A colleague of mine that went to vote at Tungamaji FCT, Health Center Polling Unit, said that out of the 5 polling units, that thugs came and made away ballot boxes belonging to 007 and 014. He now said that the people now mobilized and started beating them before the police came, dispersed the people, and later now went out again with the ballot boxes and the ad hoc staff. So for people that were supposed to vote at 007 and 014, voting ended for them. So she's now asking, will there be another opportunity for them to vote, or is that the end of the voting experience for them? Thank you.
Thank you. Please
just
allow
follow up, sir.
Honorable Chairman to answer those questions, please.
Okay,
Please.
sorry, I crave your indulgence. I know that there are many people who have many good questions to ask and suggestions to make. But we are in the middle of an election. And we have to go back to our situation room. That's why we have limited the interventions to 3. I'm sure there'll be another opportunity for us to respond, to hear from Nigerians. After all, in our situation room, we have the ICCC, the INEC Citizens Contact Center. And through our social media handles, you can still contact us live and direct, and we will be able to respond to the issues you have raised. And so many Nigerians have been responding and drawing our attention to situations which we have in turn also been responding. So I crave your indulgence. I will respond to these 3 quick interventions, and then we go back to our situation room. The first one is the security of the beavers, particularly now that we are going to the next stage. At the polling units, remember, after the ballot papers have been sorted out and counted, and the result sheets duly signed by the presiding officers and the agents of political parties, will snap the picture of that result sheet and upload on the IREV portal. So the question is, what happens? This is partly why I said in my opening statement that we met with the security chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, the National Security Advisor, and the Commandant General of the Security and Civil Defense. Yes, people are targeting the beavers, but remember also, in our planning for the election, we have made contingency arrangement. In none of these areas where the beavers was targeted was election not held as a result of the absence of the beavers. The highest number came, as I said, from Safana local government area of Katsina State. And as I said earlier in my first briefing, the police, working with the commission, have arrested the whole of the 6 beavers, and the manhunt for the other people is ongoing. So we have taken sufficient measures to make sure that we protect the beavers' machines. Remember, we'll use the same machines in the next 2 weeks for the governorship and state assembly elections. So we're not joking with this situation at all. It's critical to the conduct of credible elections. Princess from the Anambra Broadcasting Service, results emanating from a primary school where voters volunteered to conduct the election. I know that the commission appreciates the work of volunteers. That's why we rely on ad hoc staff or temporary staff. But these are staff engaged by the commission, not staff who engage themselves on behalf of the commission as good Samaritans. So I'm not aware of the specific details of this situation you described in Anambra, but as soon as we go back to the situation room, I will place a call to our resident electoral commissioner in Anambra State. So we'll find a way of dealing with this situation. Finally, the issue of Tunga Maji, raised by our sister from Radio Nigeria, that thugs made away with some of the election materials before voting could be concluded. So are we now going to resume voting in these locations again? So what we'll do immediately after this meeting is to call our resident electoral commissioner for the Federal Capital Territory and find out exactly what the situation is. Surely, if there are still voters on the queue at Tunga Maji, what I have described earlier will apply to that location as well. Anybody who had who was on the queue before 2:30 will be allowed to vote, even if voting goes well beyond the official closing hours of the polling. So we'll find out as soon as we leave this place. So once again, I thank you and I thank Nigerians for their understanding and patience. We are making really very steady progress and will continue to ensure that nothing truncates our democracy or truncates the will of the Nigerian people. Our allegiance is to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and our commitment is to the Nigerian people. I thank you very much. But before we close, in case there is need to issue another statement again, we will at short notice inform the media because they are here. But as a matter of course, I would like to invite you at midday tomorrow for the official opening of the National Collation Center for the 2023 general elections. We hope later tomorrow we expect to have some of the results of the election coming from the states, particularly for the presidential election. So the situation room, the collation center for the presidential election will be opened at midday tomorrow, Sunday, the 26th. Thank you very much.
Professor Yakub Mahmoud, INEC chairman, just briefed Nigerians with regards to the steps taken in some of the challenging zones as far as today's general election is concerned. Grace Elia Mahmoud, Professor Mahmoud touched so many areas with regards to what INEC is doing to ensure that peace returns to some of these areas, especially working assiduously with the security agencies to ensure that the last process, which is counting, there is no problem and it's going to be a hitch-free. That's what he assured Nigerians.
Yes, I think he did that yesterday, Chidoka. He assured Nigerians, and today is just to rebuttal the fact that he's reiterating the fact that Nigerians should be assured of a free and fair elections, and also of an election that will not be marred by any security challenge. If you remember yesterday, the Inspector General of Police told us that about 425,106 security agents across the country will be part of the elections. That is including, of course, other security agencies like the Nigerian military, as well as the civil defense, the road safety, the VIO, all hands, he said, was on deck. Were on deck to ensure that there is a hitch-free election and the process goes seamless. I think these are the issues that people have been complaining over time today. The issues of security, the issues of ballots snatching, and also the issues of thugs trying to invade places of polling units in the various states. And he has calmed the situation down by saying that everything has been properly taken care of.
Thank you very much, Grace. And the INEC chairman also announced the presence of some foreign visitors that are here to witness this election, the national election. That is the chairman of the Electoral Committee of Liberia, Ghana, Niger Republic, Tanzania, and Sierra Leone. And that is the situation here from the National Collation Center, Abuja, which is the International Conference Center, Abuja. At this point, we want to thank all those that contributed from this end towards making this broadcast a huge success. Linus Emefola, Gazara Mohammed, Cornelius Akijobi, Linus Ivanos, Debo Adeninola, and on behalf of my colleague, Friday Emmanuel, Grace Elia, I am Ndubweze Chidoka, returning you to Radio House.
Thank you, Ndubweze Chidoka. So welcome back to Mandate Studio on the network service of Radio Nigeria. Our guests this evening are Austin Igbe of the Center of Democracy and Development and Osariti Mahireko, a retired director and administrative secretary of INEC. You're welcome. Gentlemen, we just listened to the INEC chairman, and there were so many takeaways. He spoke, he expressed satisfaction with the performance of the Beavers machine, which is a plus on INEC, being the first time this machine is being introduced in the field. And then with this, the Professor Mahmoud said it performed optimally. He also spoke about the attack in Goja. Yes. And then he spoke about the incidents in Delta, Savannah, in Katsina, Anambra, where they had issues of the Beavers machine being stolen by hoodlums. He went on to speak on the situation in Bayelsa, where 104 polling units, 141 polling units, the process was disrupted. And Professor Jeka said voting will continue to move. Professor Mahmoud said voting will continue to move. He went over to say he had a meeting with the Inspector General of Police, the National Security Advisor, and the Commandant General of the Civil Defense Corps to beef up the security situation in the country. So, looking at this takeaway, society, how do you assess the whole situation, being an insider in INEC?
Well, let's start with the issue of the Beavers. I want to really commend the commission for the issue of introducing Beavers. Beavers has in several ways stopped a lot of rigging or what have happened. You heard what he said. They are no longer after the ballot boxes. They are now after Beavers. Because what it means is that the Beavers is something that you can use. You use that. You use the Beavers for accreditation, and then at the end of the election, you snap and then send it to the collation center. What it means is that from the polling unit to the collation center, somebody is already there waiting at the collation center to get the actual. And if you look at it from that, you know certainly that so that is one area. Then the issue of attack, which we had discussed earlier, is one area to where commission are taking. For instance, the 141 polling unit. But it's good that he has said that they will now conduct the presidential election tomorrow. That is Sunday for the election in Senegal. For Kota, Mapoloku, Oshodi, other areas. Thank God that he has been able to find out what is happening. And then they are monitoring. If there is need for fresh election in those elections, then look at the issue of the acronym of the party, which is able to handle. What it means is that taking proactive action to ensure that nobody is enfranchised. Those are the issues that that because I have worked in the internet, but because I've seen that a lot of things taking place, you know for sure that most of these things are well coordinated. But in areas where the people didn't get to the polling unit on time, once they if anybody is at the polling unit, if the person is on the queue by 2:30, stay on the queue by 2:30, 5 o'clock, people will be voting. That is it.
Let's take a call from Kiki Lemo Ipekoya from Halimo Show. Hello, Kiki Lemo.
Hello, good evening.
You have monitored this voting in your area. Could you give us an update of what is happening now?
Yes, voting has ended in most of the polling units under Alimosho local government where I monitored today. at about 4 p.m. Yes, although the voting exercise started behind schedule in some polling units, but I can confirm to you that all those that were on the queue at the affected polling units were allowed to vote, were allowed to cast their votes eventually. However, there was a case at the polling unit along the popular government road in Ikotu area of the local government, where some eligible voters came at the time the sorting and counting of votes, you know, had started. They claimed they could not locate the polling units on time, but then there was nothing the INEC officials could do uh, at that time. But generally, the voting exercise in Alimosho area where I covered was quite peaceful, and people conducted themselves very well. Some of the polling, at the time, some of the polling units that I speak with you, they're already heading to the collation center at Lagos Government Technical College in Ikoto.
Thank you, Kikilemo. You could follow you could follow Mandate Studio on our live stream on YouTube at Radio Nigeria Network and on Facebook at /Radio Nigeria Network. You can join the conversation at hashtag Radio Nigeria. Osariti, you were okay. Mary Patile from Lagos is on the line. Hello, Mary. Hello, Mary.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Mary.
Good evening.
What's the update from your area in Lagos?
Okay, we just left Jetta to go now. Presently allowance, but before we left, there was serious problem here.
What kind of problem?
Yes. Some area boys came there. When people were voting, they just came and started shooting and started the way ballot buses. Somebody was even shot on the chest. But thank God for the military that got there on time and was able to take care of the situation. The military had to wait for them to get some of the ballot boxes, and they counted before they left. But as I speak right now, we are presently at Lawasi.
And I'm sure collation has started at Lawasi.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Keep us updated as events unfold in your area in Lagos.
Thank you very much.
You were discussing on the highlights of the INEC chairman's broadcast.
Yes.
Thank you, Mary.
If we take the areas like the commission was proactive in security to give us another local government. And that is exactly what those give us a short. So one thing with the divas, even if it's once it is received, the accreditation and the number of voters those accredited. So I think generally with the areas we had for now, I think that is following up. And you see when it says so that they can give you when they are in the situation of tomorrow.
Before I come over to you, Austin, let's take Shola Rotimi from Ilori. Hello, Shola.
Hello, good evening. Monday to you.
Good evening, Shola.
Yes.
How was the entire exercise in Ilori?
Okay, most of the areas are monitored in Ilori West local government. It all went peacefully, except for slight issues in the morning because the INEC officials did not arrive on time. the rep, Kwara rep, Malam Garba Tahir Madani was around, and he explained the fact that there was a problem of the officials of INEC trying to sort out some material. So there was a mix-up there. So that was corrected. Then there was a case of ballot snatching. He reported in the local government. That's in Kwara North. So apart from that, there is no problem. Everything is going on peacefully. However, the collation has started. The sorting and counting rather has started in all the 16 local government areas of Kwara State. So collation is expected to start around 7 o'clock this evening.
Okay. Thank you, Shola. Please keep us updated as events unfold in your area. Austin, earlier you said something about the threat assessment before the election, and you mentioned areas of the northwest geopolitical zone, and then the southeast geopolitical zone. And based on the briefing of the INEC chairman, he said the highest number of beavers that were lost was in Savannah local government in Katsina State, which is in the north west. And then you had issues in Anambra, where they also had some loss of the beavers machine. So how do you assess this vis-a-vis the threat assessment that was carried out before the election?
Apparently, that is why you are not seeing the beehive. You have not seen the bottom of those kind of things. And you see what the chairman said about Goza. You will expect that there will be some level of attack from the insurgent groups. Like I said before, now was looking at North Central, looking at Zamfara. We have not had anything yet from Zamfara. I mean, I'm pretty happy because the expectation was all of those states where you have where bandits are literally taking over, not necessarily taking over the state, but taking over some area of local government. We haven't had some kind of attack from there, and I'm happy sincerely. But again, Anambra was part of the state I mentioned. It's to the southeast. The possibility that there could be attack. Again, Imo. However, they've been calling up in a way that is so strategic. If you remember 2021 Anambra election, it was a beef of will any be able to run an election in Anambra State. Many people thought that the election ought not to hold at all, but eventually INEC came up from that election strong, declaring a candidate, and that was also fantastic. Maybe because of the consciousness of people, or again, not just the people though, you have to also give this credit to the security architecture who had to handle out those militarized non-state actors who may want to come into the system and disrupt the processes. And I think, with all due respect, that INEC would have expected that XYZ will happen, and that's why all of those things were put in the board. In case this happened, what's going to be the alternative? And my chairman said we have contingency plan, which means you have done your proper analysis to know that if we have 5,000 beavers, for example, we may lose like 10, 20, 40. So we have to get more. So those contingency plan was very strategic. Okay, you cannot tell people that won't go on. You can't. But I'm also curious to see in Bayelsa the 144 polling. That is huge. That is huge. I mean, I was expecting that to happen in Lagos with all the videos we saw, deprivation of voters, whether that was true, but a lot of people did confirm me that something like that was happening, and the INEC chairman also spoke to those incidents that happened in Lagos. And I think we should give the credit at this time to INEC. They've done it before in 2019, they've done it in 2015. This consistent information, in fact, the feedback system, it's giving hope that yes, to recognize the fact that if you see the comment, the way the chairman spoke was that you asked us the question, and we've gone back to find out. We are not back to provide. That is systematic, and I think INEC should keep it up. And it's important to keep feeding us with the right information. And we expect before the close of the day that there will be another press statement.
Let's take Yo Palm in Jos. Hello, Yo. Hello, Yo.
Yes, I'm listening.
Yo, how is Jos, and how did the exercise go in Jos?
Well, so far so good. The election has been peaceful,
and there has been large turnout of people in the areas I visited and the areas that some of my colleagues also visited. I worked with some of my colleagues in different units. So the area me I covered was Golan Bay, Kaka, Guarandok, and Lamingo Agri. And then we had our reporters spread across the state too, who were giving the station to job.
So, what reports did you get from the reporters from the other local governments around Plateau State?
And generally, the report has been that of massive turnout of people, and the people were organized. And then in some areas, we also discovered that the beavers had issues.
Like what kind of issues, to be specific?
The beavers were not working.
Thank you, Yo.
Yes.
Thank you for that
Yes,
update, Yo.
Yes, and then we had issues of late arrival of the election materials, defensive materials. Yes.
We appreciate the update from you.
Okay.
Let me come back to you, Austin. There was also the issue of Eastern North,
Eastern North, yeah,
where one party's acronym had issues, and then the election has been rescheduled. But yes, and it will take place in the next 2 weeks. What impression do you get from this kind of scenario?
I actually had that story. I thought it was the mere speculation, and especially when there was a press briefing after that talked about it one in Lagos. I know INEC was faced with a lot of legal tussle. I mean, or orders from all manner of courts, and it was worrisome. But recognizing again, like I said, the feedback, recognizing that INEC made that mistake, whether it's mistake or not, for INEC to acknowledge that we are going to reschedule, as the chair said, the logo is on the result sheet, but it's not on the ballot. I mean, that's something worrisome. That's genuine mistake. And coming out to say, well, we take this responsibility. And this responsibility we are taking is, in my opinion, sincere. Sincere in the sense that INEC is the one that has lost money, so to say, because all of those ballots will have to be burnt. Nobody will use it again. So between now and March 11, INEC will have to produce those ballots. But again, the good thing is that the result sheet is intact. And I mean, the logos are okay. Yes, it's good that INEC did say that, and to also clarify all other stories that are peddling on social media and all around, particularly the ones that may eventually have a snowball effect. For example, if a press conference was held yesterday or the day before that our logo is not on the ballot, we wanted Labour Party or we wanted FP or something like that. If that's not your logo, there's no way INEC will recreate your logo. It's not possible. You may prefer a certain way you want your logo to be on the ballot, but that's not you creating the ballot at this particular time. There are always threshold time with which things are to be done. Otherwise, we may end up running into a situation where a day to election, somebody will write to INEC, please change my logo. I want pure water to be on the logo. It's not done like that. If you go on INEC website, all of the party logos are there. If you want changes, if you want to make change to your party logo, there are processes, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Authority, there was this issue in Lagos, and the INEC Chama mentioned a number of local governments, Mapoluku, Oshodi, and Ikate. And then our correspondent even gave us an update of a shooting in Lagos. Because a lot of people were not expecting such kind of reaction in Lagos. But I don't know what your experience is like after monitoring so many elections in this country. What do you look at the situation, the scenario in Lagos?
Yeah.
Based on the reports.
Yeah, well, that is exactly what I said. I expected that by now we should be maturing. You don't need to fight to get what you want, because if you listen to some of the videos, if you watch and then listen to some of the by some people and saying that, look, if you are not in this, you are not voting for this party in this polling unit, you better leave. That is inciting the people. The other people are there, and then you say, oh, because they're not supporting a particular party, they should leave the place. You are creating confusion. Politics is sports. You either win or you lose. So if you're not, if you feel that your candidate is not doing well, why must you go there and begin to shoot? Look at somebody who was shot on the chest. Somebody came to exercise his franchise, and at the end of the day, he may end up dying for what he didn't really bargain for. So if we really want elections, so if we want to consolidate election in Nigeria, let's try as much as possible to do it the way we should do it and forget about, violence. Violence should not be something we should encourage in party process.
Our colleague Kingsley from Port Harcourt just is on the line. Hello, Kingsley. Kingsley.
I can hear you. Good evening.
Good evening, Kingsley. You monitor the elections in Port Harcourt. Could you give us an update of events that are happening in Port Harcourt?
Okay, I was in 2 local government areas specifically to monitor the exercise. I started off my work at Ward 12, Unit 11 and 12 in Obiakpo local government area. Obiakpo local government area happens to be the local government area of the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. And in that place, the 2 units that we have there, in one, the BVAS was not working well because you have to take about 15 to 20 minutes for one person to be able to accredit and vote. Then in the other one, it was moving seamlessly. Then there was also an kind of invasion of the polling units by some thugs who are trying to force voters to vote in particular direction. But unfortunately for us, the security agencies were not there at that time to be able to cope the situation. So they tried to have their way by who were saying that the voters should go outside and things like that. So they were almost taking over the polling units. But around 12, that would try to get information around in that place, it was still not sorted out. Then right now, we have a ward in Obiakpo local government still, Ward 13, Unit 9. Ward 13, Unit 9. As I'm talking to you now, there are over 1,000 registered voters in that polling unit. And as of now, this is 20 minutes to 6. That unit has not accredited up to 200 persons out of the 1,000 that is in that polling unit. In fact, the weather has not been very favorable. It's been raining. For people persisted and stayed under the rain, and insisted that some of them are stupid. They insisted that even if INEC should do this election tomorrow, that they must come back tomorrow and make sure they exercise their franchise. So it's been very, very hectic, especially in that polling unit. Then in Ikwere local government area, I also monitor the exercise. There were reports of some political talks trying to force people to vote in certain direction. So that's what has been happening around here. But by and large, the security here has been we have not had any serious breakdown of law and order.
But
in terms of turnout, there are some polling stations that we went to that it was more like a kind of a reunion of friends. The atmosphere was very good, even though there are no security agencies there, but the people there conducted themselves, they numbered themselves, they sit around. Whenever it is your turn, they will call your number, you go and vote and things like that. So in some of those polling stations, things are moving the way they ought to move. But the BVAS is still a problem in some polling units because it's not functioning very well. In terms of arrival of INEC officials, the average time for the arrival is between 10:15, 10:30 in most places that we visited.
But has collation started in the areas where election has been conducted?
I'm not sure that it has started because we actually have massive turnout in this part of the world. I'm not sure that in those places that we have gone to, the INEC official that we have there have been able to attend to all those that we met on the line at the time we were there.
So election is ongoing.
It's ongoing. It's ongoing.
Okay, thank
In
you.
fact, there is this violence to begin to think of whether they will send it to tomorrow. If the number of persons that were seen at the queue is anything to go by.
Thank you very much, Kingsley. Please keep us updated of the events in Port Harcourt.
Thank you.
With all the security challenges, reports of security challenges we have received, I think it will be time for us to see the level of preparedness of security agencies. The readiness of security operatives is one issue that was much talked about in the preparations for the 2023 elections. In this report, Emmanuel Ejim examines the efforts of stakeholders to ensure security of lives and property before, during, and after the election.
Section 13, subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, states that the security and welfare of the citizenry shall be the primary responsibility of government. It is in the discharge of this constitutional duty that the Buhari administration has taken several proactive measures to improve the security situation before today's election. Election security is an integral part of an electoral process, especially in a society like Nigeria. It refers to the protection of electoral materials, personnel, and infrastructure from attack or threats like tampering with the voting machines or voters' registration database. An election security expert, Malan Kabir Usman, said security is an important component in the conduct of a successful, free, fair, and credible election the world over, especially in Nigerian context.
It is an integral part of the election because of the nature of our society. The issue of electoral violence is still very much in our country, where people are desperate to win elections at all costs. Some even go to the extent of frustrating elections in their own party so that the results somehow will be affected, either in their favor or to frustrate the winning party or the winning person and so on. And of course, based on the provisions of the Electoral Act, it spells clearly the role of security apparatus in every election in Nigeria. However, if an election is over-militarized, whereby you have too many armed personnel all over the place, that has the possibility of scaring voters, whereby voters will feel uncomfortable to come out and vote freely.
Malam Usman urged security authorities to ensure that the welfare of the operatives on election duties were properly taken care of during and after the polls. Preparatory to this election, the National Security Advisor, retired Major General Babagana Mongono, warned security operatives against any misconduct during the nationwide polls. General Mongono equally urged security personnel to execute their mandate in a responsible manner to demonstrate democratic values and professional ethics.
The armed forces, police, and other security agencies will work as a team and deliver a knowledge-driven, citizen-friendly, professionally led, and rule-of-law guided election security operation. This will produce an election outcome credible enough to strengthen the faith of all Nigerians and indeed the international community.
The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, at the Interagency Consultative Forum for Election Security, stressed the Commission's readiness to effectively collaborate with security agencies for the success of the general election. Professor Yakubu explained that the electoral materials for the election had special security features that would forestall electoral malpractices with assurance that every vote must count.
We are looking forward to a collaborative relationship with the security agencies that will ensure that processes are protected, the right of voters to vote freely safeguarded, access for observers and the media guarantees the election transparent and the outcome as soon as the election of the people.
The Nigerian Police Force, in an effort to secure the electorate, put in place strategic operational plans to ensure free, fair, and credible election across the nation. The Inspector General of Police, Mr. Usman Alkali Baba, said 310,000 police operatives with senior police officers from the ranks of DIG, AIG, CPs, and ACPs have been saddled with the responsibility of overseeing the implementation of the operation orders.
What's assured that Nigerians are allowed to come out and exercise their franchise for all the leaders of their choice will ensure the possibility of peaceful environment for Nigerians to exercise their right.
On his part, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, reassured citizens of their safety during and after the elections, even in the trouble zones across the country.
I'd like to use the opportunity to assure Nigerians that on the security front, we are good to go on all fronts. I do not need to tell you how we will do it. There are telling you is that we will do it and everyone will have the liberty to exercise their franchise. This is part of the assessment we've done, and the general assessment is that yes, we are good to go. And we've taken late contingencies to address those peculiar areas.
General Irabo warned all thugs and perpetrators of evils to disease or face consequences of their actions. As part of its contribution to the security of the electoral process, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps (NSCDC) deployed over 100,000 personnel and sniper dogs for election duty nationwide. The Commandant General of the NSCDC, Dr. Ahmed Abubakar Audi, said the Corps, as a critical stakeholder in election security, would ensure that personnel were properly guided before being deployed for physical security provision at the polling unit during and after the election. The Federal Road Safety Corps (FRSC) is mobilizing and deploying over 10,000 personnel for effective traffic management and vehicular movement during the election across the nation. The Department of State Services (DSS) has equally deployed an unspecified number of personnel across the Federation to ensure a history election and urge citizens participating in the electoral process to abide by the laid-down procedures for peaceful polls.
Violence, and of course all divisive tendencies and anything that will affect negatively the elections. These have always been our position and preaching, and we won't get tired saying that. Don't think there's an overdose of talking peace. For us in the DSS, we want every person to be peaceful and law-abiding.
On that, the Police Service Commission deployed over 306 officers of the Commission across the 36 states of the Federation to monitor the conduct of police personnel on election duties. The acting chairman of the Commission, retired Justice of Supreme Court, warned that the Commission will sanction any errant officer engaged in any form of abuse after the election. The Economic and Financial Justice and the Independent Court of Electoral Offenses Commission (ICC) have agencies of the federal government equally deployed for the 774 local government during the election. Election security experts on the affairs of the country, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) should do everything possible to get the exercise right better than previous elections for the sake of the nation's democratic advancement as well as economic development of the country. In Abuja, Emmanuel AG, Radio Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Ima, for that report. Let's go to our correspondent on the field. You have Nura Abdullahi from Lafia. Hello, Nura.
Hello, Suleiman.
Nura, how are you and how is Lafia? How did the election go on
I'm
in
fine,
Lafia?
and Latvia, as we call it, Latvia is peaceful.
So, but how did the exercise go on in Latvia? Could you give us the security situation, the voter turnout, and other details?
First and foremost, the issue of security is commendable because early in the morning, I have gone around right from INEC state office, that is Federal quarters along Jos Road. I have gone also, I followed Jos Road, Makod Road, and the even government house, we call it Shandam Road. So the security personnel has been at a strategic location as well been in the morning and even in the afternoon and this evening. So the security situation is very much okay. Combining activities of civil defense personnel, police and the military personnel, which includes the personnel of task force, which is along Doma Road, response at the Air Force base along Shandam Road, and all the personnel in that is plain that is division among others.
But
hello,
Nura, has collation started in Latvia?
Yes, in some places it has already been started. There is a place under Latvia which we call Latvia East, that is in a secure location where we confirm that the voters came out en masse after exercising their civic responsibility. The counting has started, and as the issue of turnout, it is very impressive. So the people of Latvia, particularly, they come out en masse. So also based on the report from our colleagues that we have been from various local government, also it was very impressive.
Thank you very much, Nura, and keep us updated as events unfold in Latvia. We move
Thank you,
over.
Suleiman. You're welcome.
We move over to Lagos, where Nusa Aituamen is on the line. Hello, Nusa.
Good evening.
Good evening, Nusa.
Yeah.
You monitor.
Go on.
No, Nusa, you monitor the election in some parts of Lagos. What's the update
Yeah.
there?
Well, precisely, I monitored Ifako, Ijai local government area. Voting has since ended. Sorting and counting of ballot papers are still ongoing in some polling units. But those who have concluded the counting and sorting are putting finishing touches to the process and ready to move to the collation center. But however, I'm currently at the collation center at the Ijai housing estate. This place is a beehive of activities. Most of the INEC officials have arrived and they are trying to dot the I's and cross their T's before moving over to where they are expected to submit the ballot papers as well as the materials that were given for the exercise. But I just want to mention that in one of the polling units, two of them precisely are 010049. That place was almost turned into a boxing ring by some party officials and the voters during the sorting and counting of vote cards. The problem was that most of the vote cards that was being counted by the annual officials, most of them were void votes. Most voters, some printed outside the space provided. When the number of void votes kept increasing during the counting, this caused a lot of a kind of commotion in the polling unit. But thank God the security officials were there to quickly ensure that there was no breakdown of law and order. Like I said, I'm at the collation center, and most of the vehicles are conveyed. The INEC officials this morning are all coming in, and the materials as well as the INEC officials are here trying to do the needful.
But generally, it was a peaceful exercise where you monitored.
Oh, yes, it was very peaceful, orderly, and the turnout was very impressive.
Thank you very much, Nusa, and we expect to hear more from you.
Thank you.
And from Lagos, we move to Zamfara, where Abdulrazak Bello is waiting. Hello, Abdulrazak.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Abdulrazak. How was the exercise in Zamfara?
We can say the exercise is moving smoothly as of now, even though there are some reports of violence in some areas, but the security agencies were able to overcome the challenges. But the challenges faced this morning was the issue of the late arrival of the INEC officials and of voting materials. Because there are some polling units that start voting around 2 p.m. Some started around 1:30 p.m. While other polling units that got their materials early were the units that started around 9:30 a.m. Even though there was an expansion of some polling units that were divided into 3 or 4, so they decided to distribute the items to the polling units that were existing before, while the new polling units were late. That was why some are starting very late. And around 12 a.m., there was a report of an attack around Jamba area in Paratu local government area where report says bandits in large number were shooting in the air. But after some 2 minutes, an Nigerian Air Force jet was seen moving toward that side. And after 2 minutes, when we contacted the area, it was calm. The situation it was calm. Then there was also another issue of violence in the Eisa Ward in Kauranamudu local government, which there was some local vigilante that their report says there were an issue between them and the officials of some political parties who fled to give them some things after the control area. But after arrival of the INEC voting materials, they refused to give them what they promised to do if they can protect the area. A situation which, according to the report, prompted the vigilante to seize the INEC voting material and also share them, so which led to the cancellation of the polling unit as again. The officials, I interviewed them after some hours. They said they are on road leaving the area to their various places. Yeah, it was the State North that comprised of Auran Muda, Kati Zuni, and Birnin Magaji. Then after there, I moved to Zamfara West, which comprises Salata Mafara, Maradin, Bakura, Anka, and Bukim, Gumi local government areas. I stationed myself in Mufara and Bakura and made contact with the various local government areas within the zone. The report I have the voting is going on smoothly, but there are some reports of malfunction of levers. Sometimes you have complain about charging, sometimes you have complain about the network, or you see it is. But when I saw myself was in the Talata Mopara polling unit number 40, number 15, where the state the levers is not operating well, so they have to call some other officials to come and put it in order. So as our reporting really report now, things are going well. But I think if they can finish voting today, because like in Zamfara, in this some of the polling units, most of them are 750,000 per polling unit, even though there are some with over 800. But if you see, still those are having 750. Up to this moment, there are still large number of people waiting for accreditation, then to vote. So I think the exercise will last maybe to reach like tomorrow morning or very late in the night.
Abdul Razak, would I be right to conclude that in spite of the security challenges, the glitches of the Beavers machine, the exercise went on in Zamfara and the voter turnout was impressive? Would I be right to say so?
Pardon?
I say, in spite of the security challenges, the challenges with the Beavers machine, the exercise in Zamfara went on and the voter turnout was impressive. Am I right?
Yes, sir. It's going on, sir. It's going on, sir. Mostly in some areas, very few areas, you had an issue of violence. Like within, I said, in around Mexico and Gora and in Birmingham, there are some very few areas that had about a little bit conflict maybe between the political party agents, sometimes between the voters. Sometimes there was this issue of allowing people that have weakness, maybe pregnant women, AIDS, and other disabled people. Sometimes some people may decide to say they will not allow them to vote before them because they arrive before the unit before they arrive. So that will prompt some people to start making arguments and raising up voices. Sometimes it will lead to even eating disorder, but the is on ground on the call, they quickly intervene.
Thank you very much.
Report of FCC arresting some people that were seen moving with rappers, their vehicles distributing as another method of vote buying. But the officials of EFCC arrived and apprehended such personalities.
Thank you very much, Abdul Razak. We now move over to Kwara South, where Abdul Razak Bello is on the line. Hello, Abdul Razak. How are you, Abdul Razak? How was the exercise in Kwara?
Let me start by saying it's a pleasure to listen to your sonorous voice again.
Thank you, Abdul Razak.
Yes, I'm at Kwara South, as you said, and as I'm talking to you now, I am at a town called Igaja. It's in Ifelodun local government area of Kwara State. Sorting and counting for votes has been concluded. Before we go to Igaja, we were at Ajashefu in Irekodun local government area at polling unit 003, St. Michael's Primary School. Counting and sorting has also been concluded. As a matter of fact, the party agents have signed the document they were supposed to sign, and the electoral officers have packed everything with the vehicle going to Omwana, which is the headquarters of the record in local government area, to submit all the documents and the INEC items which were used for voting. And about 2 hours ago, counting also started at the same Omwana in the record local government area of Kwara State. and everything went peaceful. Before then, before we came to Mano, we were at the boundary local government of Kwara, between Kwara and Kogi, which is the local government. We were at Osi and Iruku, and counting was also at an advantage before we moved to the local government and Ifelodun local government, respectively.
Thank you very much, Abdurazak, and keep us updated as events unfold in Kwara.
Thank you very much, Suleiman.
If you're just joining us, this is Mandate Studio on the network service of Radio Nigeria. Thank you for staying with us on the station that uplifts the people and unites the nation. Our guests are Austin Ivey, an election analyst, and Osariti Imahirebo, a retired director and administrative secretary of INEC. Osariti, in the report we just received from Rivers, there was this isolated case of voting yet to start as at this evening, when our reporter filed in the report. As somebody with an inside information and inside knowledge of how INEC works, what happens to this category of voters?
Well, he said, I was wondering when he said 1,000 voters in the polling unit. Possible that I don't want to doubt ought to have probably split into some other polling units. Maybe some of them have been migrated to polling units. Probably that's why you get that people who have not been able to identify their polling units. You can't have 1,000. But even at that, you find out that look at the situation he was talking in Obiapo, talking of Obiapo, Obibu and all that. These are areas where there were reports earlier in the morning, or there was some level of violence, some shooting. So the INEC officials may not have gone there early. Even when they got there, a lot of them were scared. But as many people that it says that maybe Unit 9, that people are still there up to this period, I still believe that it's going to be difficult to complete that election today. And if the commission, if they let the commission know on time the situation, I'm sure the commission will take a decision on that. If they have to continue tomorrow, they probably will have to. But those materials may have gotten there early, but because of the security situation, part of the
in Jalingo, Cletus Yashanku is on the line. Hello, Cletus.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Cletus.
Yes, I monitored election in southern district of Taraba State.
And how did the exercise go there?
So, everything here went in the morning peaceful. Okari, I started in Okari. What we started at about 9:30 in some polling units. Only few cases of water out in some polling units. For example, if you have maybe 129 voters, only about 50 voters in polling unit GPW voters. Well, in a polling unit like Central Primary School, the Okari, they have 171 voters. Only about 200 people turn out for voting. Those are the only two cases we witnessed in the Okari. There was massive voters turn out in other polling units. I proceeded to Takum. In Takum, there was report of the result sheet was declared missing. That makes the election not to commence in time because the result sheet among the sensitive materials was missing. So voting did not start it happened very early. Voting started at about noontime. The governor of Taraba State, Governor Daru Isaku, voted at about 12:30 noon. And after the voting, he told Radio Nigeria that he was impressed with the process by INEC. Now I'm proceeding to Tonga local government, where after the voting, the FCC governorship candidate, Senator Emmanuel Boja, described the process leading to the election as inexplicable remark by INEC. He also appreciated the effort of security agencies for avoiding some pockets of violence crisis in some polling units. As I'm talking to you now, sir, voting is still in progress in Usanko government. Right now, I'm in one polling station, polling unit. They call it Big Camp Baba. The voters there are very, very peaceful. And we are still monitoring. The voting is going on peaceful. Earlier in the day, the governor of the state had called on INEC a state voting time because of the late arrival of the sensitive material. So as the voting for this proceeds, I will object to that.
Thank you very much, Cletus, for that update, and we expect to get more updates from you. You could follow Monday Studios live on our live streaming on YouTube at Radio Nigeria Network and on Facebook on /Radio Nigeria Network. You can join the conversation on #Radio Nigeria. Austin, we had the report from our correspondent on this level of preparedness of security agencies. The civil defense deployed over 100,000 personnel. The Nigerian police over 300,000. Road safety even made available 10,000 personnel to ensure safety of road users. The DSS also specified personnel. EFCC, ICPC were also on hand. So it leaves nobody in doubt of the level of preparedness of security agencies. But as an election analyst, how would you assess the overall security situation and the preparedness of security officials?
Before the election, there was a high level of show of force. We saw APC, armored personnel carriers, so movement from one point to another, and it is a usual phenomenon in any election. It is try to douse tension that security is ready to police and to ensure that all persons are safe. In the numbers you counted, you missed out the military. Of course, the army had also deployed high level, the Air Force, the Navy. One of your correspondents just confirmed that the Air Force had to come in swiftly to nip in the bud the bandit attack. And like I said before, that was supposed to happen because the risk management that happened knew that this area is red flag, and so they prepared for it adequately. Yes, I'll give it to everybody for the now because we've not seen it all. But you will expect too, where the videos that came out from Lagos, where some persons were deprived voting, that security agency ought to have been able to allow all voters to vote. But till now, we expect that information will come later that those people that were deprived voting eventually voted, because it will be out of place that some non-state actors will deprive any individual the right to their franchise. It is important that everyone with PVC that truly show up on election day should vote their conscience and vote whoever they want to vote for. Because, like already said on the panel, see, this is Nigeria. Whoever wins election is a Nigerian, so it's not a foreigner. And whoever wins election is the will of the people, and the people should be allowed to exercise their franchise.
In the reports we received, there were so many cases of burglary and other violence in states like Lagos, Port Harcourt, Nasarawa. Um, let's listen to this report from our correspondent in Nasarawa. Burglary and ballot box snatching have been reported in some areas. This was the worry expressed by residents in Lafia in Nasarawa State. Let's go over to Chris Yamtu for that report.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
Electoral violence has been a source of concern to electorate. Since 1999, there have been reported cases of invasion to packets of attacks by armed thugs at polling units during elections where voting materials were snatched with voters forcefully dispersed. Over the years, voters in some polling units in Nasarawa State have experienced cases of ballot snatching, violent attacks, and destruction of some printed ballot papers during elections. In an interview with Radio Nigeria, a voter at Ungwarmangu polling unit of Lafia Metropolis, Mr. John Noxon, called on the Independent National Electoral Commission to deploy adequate security personnel to polling units identified to be prone to attacks during elections to boost the confidence of electorate.
Our expectation here is based on the way we have been casting our vote here. We are expecting that the election here is also going to be free and fair without interference by any hoodlum or any talk.
Another voter at Police Barracks Road polling unit in Lafia local government area, Mrs. Halima Ali, stressed the need for strong and efficient tribunals for the prosecution of electoral offenders to check thuggery during the elections. She noted that despite cancellation of results from their polling unit in previous elections due to destruction of polling materials by political thugs, she had mobilized women to come out to vote.
The last election that we voted, it was really terrible, especially the one of the governor. After the voting, during the counting time, some thugs now come in. They off the lights, started using machete and stick, putting the electoral materials, run up our dear life. This time around, we are really coming out to vote, but we want the government to put law enforcement here. Let them be here until that evening time during the counting.
However, a gang leader of a group of thugs, Rambo Nakande, who said due to the high level of commitment shown by President Muhammadu Buhari and INEC in entrenching sanity to the nation's electoral process, they have repented from thuggery to ensure peaceful conduct of the elections.
I actually learned my lesson from the previous election. I'm not going to listen to any politician to use me as a thug. At this election, I'm going to be a gentle and a very clear voter. No fighting and no any raising of voice. Everybody will vote.
While Gambo Shafa alias Sharp Striker regretted that they had gained nothing from thuggery as their sponsors, whom according to him, most at times offered them paltry amount of money, Indian hemp and other hard drugs to energize them to perpetrate the act during elections, hence they had changed their ways for the better.
They use us after the election, they envy us, they don't do anything for us. We are calling the attention of the politician to allow the election to be free and fair.
On his part, another repentant thug who pleaded anonymity said they resolved to resist any offer for them to disrupt the elections, despite the persistent pressure on them.
Several times these politician people, they invited us to go there and destroy the ballot paper whole street and go with it. When we finish, they are going to do something. And the later on, when we finish the work, they are not going to give us anything. But now, this election, and we will promise it, we are the youth, we are not going to destroy anything. We will go and vote the election successfully. When we finish, we just carry ourselves and go. We are not going to destroy anything now presently.
Lafia-based legal practitioner Mr. Titus Chahu called on the federal government to focus more on safety of the polling units, given the high level of enthusiasm exhibited by the electorate in the coming elections. In Lafia, Chris Yamtu, Radio Nigeria.
Thank you, Chris Yamtu. Josiah Buzumi is on the line in Jos. Hello, Josiah.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening, Josiah.
Yes.
What was the situation like in Jos in terms of voting, voter turnout, and then the security situation?
Well, let me start with the security situation. Like I said earlier in the morning, there was a high level of security present. Where if you are driving your car, they will stop you first, they will search, they will ask questions, and those dots are on essential duties. Others have to turn back or they have to park their vehicles. Security has been tight, and let's go to the voter turnout. Voter turnout has been very, very impressive, highly impressive. People came out early, but some of the challenges found out some local government areas, like like this community in Lubin, in very large local government area, we got there around 12. INEC officials are not there. They have not brought the election materials, and people became aggressive, started becoming aggressive. It was when the senator representing the zone came and calmed them down, and then after some time, they brought in the materials. One thing that we noticed is, apart from just the state capital itself, where in most cases they brought these materials early, those local governments that are outskirts from Barikilaji, Riom, Bangshi, Mangu, Kanki, most of the materials came a little bit late. And the turnout has been so large that I'm sure it will run maybe till late night before to finish the exercise. And the people are so determined to vote. And one thing we noticed in Pangshi is that when we got there, we saw the youth standing in one side of the field. So we asked them, "Are you not going to vote?" So they were like, they brought these materials late. So we are allowing our parents and our grandparents to cast their votes first and go home, while we the youth wait. When they are done, then we go and cast our vote.
Thank you, Josiah. We move over to Lokoja, where Alpha Yakubu is on the line. Hello, Alpha.
Good evening.
Good evening, Alpha Yakubu. How was the exercise in Lokoja?
Yeah, the exercise went well in Lokoja. Though there are some areas where we have pockets of crisis, and after that, the INEC was able to meet the expectation of voters.
What?
At 5:30 that I visited some polling units, some were already policing, while others are few voters on the line, yet to cast their vote. But above all, Lokoja relatively peaceful this morning because security was tight and everything went on well. Outside Lokoja, there were areas like Anyiba, where we have violence in the afternoon. Towards this evening, everything is now under control. Also, in Kualawu, that is in local government, we have some polling units where ballot deposits were scattered by suspected hoodlums. Also in Ijumu, we also record pockets of violence, but relatively, the election went on well.
And I'm sure collation is in process.
The collation is in process. Even some, as I'm talking to you, some are still casting their vote. There's a polling unit in Ganaja where the beavers that was brought, say the code that was given to the INEC did not work. So those voters in that polling unit did not vote. So I don't know what the INEC will do on that, but at the time I left, none of them voted.
And thank you very much, and keep us updated, Alpha.
Thank you.
A lot of violence have been reported. But I think the takeaway here is the resolve of Nigerians to ensure that the democratic process goes on. Because in between the report, you had instances where Nigerians, citizens, even confronted the thugs and then secured the ballot boxes. Is it not a good sign, the way Nigerians are determined?
It is. There is like what it means is that people want the election, they want to elect their leader. And so if the people can protect their votes, vote and ensure that nobody comes in there to snatch the ballot box, nobody comes in to take the papers, it shows that people are interested in, electing their leader. And so I want to appreciate them for that. But I'm discouraged by the fact that a lot of violence has taken place, despite the meeting by the security and other stakeholders. I expected that they should have stopped, nipped at the bud violence, because it doesn't really augur well for democracy in Nigeria. Because if you check even except in areas like Kenya, where there had some violence, but in other areas in West Africa, you hardly hear violence. Like if you check Ghana during their elections, the elections the elections hold regularly, and you hardly hear of violence. I think what we should be doing is to discourage our youths. Yes, they are interested in ensuring that they elect good leaders, but violence is not.
Let's move over to Kaduna, where Aminu Dalhatu is waiting. Hello, Aminu.
Good evening, Mr. Suleiman.
Good evening, Aminu. You monitored the election in Kaduna.
People were moving up and down. They didn't really care about the election. But today, the streets were deserted. People were in their homes. The election was going on peacefully. Every polling unit I went today had people voted and sat down. They were in some polling units. The agents were not even visible. In fact, in Ghana Street, just by Transcorp, only one party agent was present by 8:30 a.m. By 9, there was still one party agent. In the two polling units in Wuye, there was no party agent at all. The voters were both the agent and everything. They were the ones who sat down, voted, sat, because there's becoming an awareness. More voters are aware of the processes, and they now understood that it is their responsibility to protect their own vote. When you vote and you go home, it's good. But the law permits that when you vote at the polling unit, you just pull out and then wait within the polling station. And then once the polling is over, you are allowed to come and then while the counting is going on, you count it along. That is planning, because for 1 year, all of the conversation was on. That's why I'm actually surprised when people say that they didn't know their polling unit. With all of the digital processes that went, and some young people, I mean, I could excuse elderly people who actually didn't have mobile phones and all of that. But for the people who are young, they shouldn't say that.
Let's please move over to Sokoto and take Mohammed Nasser. Mohammed, hello, Mohammed.
Yes, I can hear you.
Mohammed, thank you for coming over. And what will be your own contribution when it comes to the activities of the election in Sokoto? What's the update you have for us?
Well, the election started at about 10:30 this morning, and that there was a lot of turnout of voters, especially women. About more than 70% of the voters are women here in Sokoto. And there was no any issue of crisis or snatch of ballot or what have you. The election started until about 1 o'clock when crisis started in some polling units in Sokoto South.
But generally in Sokoto it was peaceful, and then the voter turnout was impressive.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much, Mohammed.
And another thing, later we had interview with the gubernatorial candidate of APC.
Okay.
He complained of inadequate security and lack of well-trained INEC official and practical staff as well, which he believes this thing created problems.
Mohammed, away from what the gubernatorial aspirant of APC complained, tell us exactly what you observed, the level of security and other things you observed.
Well, what I observed, this election, in any election, there must be little kind of issues, problems what arise from here and there. Actually, in Sokoto, there was not much problem with regard to this election. And the election started and ended at about 6:30. Most places close please that they are voting at about 6:30 this evening.
And I'm sure collation is in progress.
Yes, collation is in progress. Counting votes, the voting and the collation is in progress. Only that there are some places, as I've earlier said, there is some crisis in some little places that one cannot avoid.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for that update from Sokoto. We hope to get more from you. Osarity, let me come back to you. You just heard what Austin said. Do you share his sentiments, voter awareness, the long time for INEC to prepare and everything. Is that a plus for what we have seen?
Yes, I think it's a plus because if you look at what was done with the training, the publicity, and some of the non-governmental organizations consult some both radio and television. So there was enough time really for, like you said, for the people, the older people who don't have opportunities to use their handsets to identify their polling units. Yes, we could give, but even at that, some of them would not text messages. They could give it to their children to say, okay, what is it? What did they say? So since their numbers were there, the only people that probably will have some challenges are those who have changed their phones. The phone numbers they used in registering, they have been one of the challenges. Maybe text messages would have come to those kind of numbers and they didn't stay. But for the younger people who were so enthusiastic to register and all that, there was enough time for them to identify their polling unit. So it wasn't an excuse. But really, there was enough time to plan for this election. Just like I said, at times you can just have some logistic challenges to come, which you didn't plan for. And that is what has probably happened today in terms of transportation of materials. You might find out that, what the INEC normally does is all the vehicles will be certified fit by the Federal Road Safety Commission. Then if those vehicles certified fit cannot take the people to the polling units and it breaks down the way, it's a challenge. And another one is that maybe the security man will say, oh, I'm not ready until everything is ready before we move. That is another challenge. But I think the report of materials getting late to some of the today, I don't think it's a wise one. I just believe that maybe during the next election, coming up on March, those mistakes will be corrected.
But Austin, would it be asking too much from INEC after all the text messages, and would it be asking too much for more publicity on voter awareness, on how to locate this thing? Would it be asking for too much?
The right information can never be enough. We just keep saying it. Keep saying it, let people hear more. But it's also important to quickly put on the table while my brother was talking, he talked about the logistics, the vehicles. I don't know exactly what may have happened, but let's not assume yet. In Anambra 2017 and 2021, almost the same thing happened. In that election, there was all manner of threats. Vehicles that INEC had already agreed with the NUTW, that's the usual network that they work with, they already agreed. In the morning, they came with their vehicle, parked at the biggest location to transport materials. Before you knew what was happening, these folks were having unionism. They started having conversations, and they agreed that they were not going to go anywhere until the INEC will double the amount that they've received before. And most of them complained that they paid the money to their union and the money had not come to them. Right there, what do you do? In 2017, I saw it live. In 2021, I saw it. And my problem was that, and I began to be very angry with INEC. Why don't you sign some very strong legal agreement that when this fail, you can then take them to court and prosecute them appropriately? But I mean, I don't work for both sides, so I will just be advised, and ours is to make those kind of advisory. If that's exactly what happened now, I will focus on INEC with the blame, because we have had this conversation again and again that you should be able to live. And INEC has done a lot of conferences and all manner of interrogation to deal with logistics. The last one was in Lagos, about around September or so, where they agreed that this will not happen. And if this happened again, that transporters did not move because of extra money, in Anambra, INEC had to pay double for the ones who didn't go. And I'm wondering, are we going to continue like that? And INEC doesn't have the transportation mechanism he had to rely on another agency. And in this case, the biggest or the strongest of it is the union, the road transport union.
Before you go on now, let's take Sam Ehuse from Delta. Hello, Sam. Good evening, Sam. Sam, what's the update in Delta?
Actually, many of the polling units have been fixed. Counting and collation of polling unit results are ongoing, and in many of the polling units, the exercise started late, especially in some of the remote parts of Delta State, like the Anocha North local government areas. For example, in one of the community, Kadima Primary School in Anocha North local government area, the exercise did not start in about 1:30 in the afternoon for the reason that there was no result sheet among the sensitive materials that arrived. So the eligible voters said that the exercise will not start until the result sheet were brought to the center. So the thing lasted for over 5 hours, and the eligible voters waited patiently. So it was when the result sheet arrived that the exercise commenced, and that explains why counting of the votes are still ongoing in many of the polling units. Earlier in the day, I reported that the PDP vice presidential candidate and governor of Delta State, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, voted at exactly 9:41 a.m. at Owa Amero, Ward 2, Unit 17, in the Camp North East local government area, and he expressed confidence in INEC's ability to conduct credible election, and he also commended President Muhammadu Buhari for ensuring credible, free and fair election. And he gave an assurance that his party will win the presidential and national assembly election. So in many other places, the election went on peacefully despite the heavy rain. We witnessed rain in many communities, but as we speak, the voters will be patient, and they said they will not go until they exercise their franchise. And again, there were some issues in Asaba following the creation of many polling units by INEC. Many could not locate the new polling units they were to vote, and they ended up being disadvantaged. And some of them wanted to cross a promotion, but it took the intervention of the security agency to calm them down, saying that this counting of votes had already commenced in some of the affected polling units, that there was nothing they could do other than to ask them to go home. That is the situation for now from Asaba. Get up.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Thank you.
Charity, a very serious challenge has been presented by us. INEC enters into an agreement with a union like NURTW, a very serious union. The contract or an MOU has been signed for a national assignment, only for members who received or transfers were made to them by their own union, only for them to release at the last. Is that not economics of a national assignment?
So it was a breach of contract. We signed an MOU. I know that Bayelsa sanctioned the National Union of Road National Union of Road Transport, and those who were supposed to that union who were supposed to supply boats to us. We sanctioned them, and when there was another election that came up, we said we're not going to give them, and they had to expose those who were involved, and it took them to write another undertaking that if they try that again, they will be sanctioned, that they will not be given such opportunity. Really, if you sign an MOU and you decide to breach, and I think part of the problem is that even the leaders of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, who are not the owners of these vehicles, and then this money is paid into the coffers of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, and then you didn't send this money to the owners of those vehicles, certainly they will have to complain because one, it may not be the amount that they signed with the commission that they now give to the owners of these vehicles. So I think that it's just because, again, some of these people who own those vehicles, some of the owners of these vehicles are politicians. You know, some areas where some of the politicians will tell you, oh, they know that these vehicles, they may decide to say that, look, because they are not popular in certain areas, those vehicles are being sent to. They might stop the vehicles from coming early. And so I think the commission probably will have to really put in some stringent measures that if the National Union of Road Transport Workers fail to adhere to those rules in the MOU, they should be sanctioned. What they should do is, but unfortunately, where else do they get the vehicles? There are no other places. INE cannot afford vehicles like that because, like if you go to like in South Africa Electoral Commission, most of these things are sent by haulage. Most of these things are sent by aircraft to drop these materials in certain areas using helicopters and all that. These are government agencies. But, you know, in Nigeria, for instance, you don't know the government in power using the facilities of the government in power. It may not create a level playing field. And so that is the reason why you have to use the National Union of Road Transport Workers. So if they have to put some stringent measures that as many that would fail to adhere to those conditions, they will be sanctioned. And it's not only being sanctioned, they will probably be forced to refund the money. And that would be a very good opportunity to tell them that if you breach any of the conditions in the MOU, you make a refund of the money. I'm sure they will learn.
But looking at the Nigerian situation, you have institutions like the Nigerian Postal Service. That's also an institution that has the reach in terms of Nigerian Postal Service has been distributing mails to every nook and cranny of this country.
Do they have vehicles to sell most of those things? The haulage companies like the DHL and all that. Yes, you see, part of the problem is you give these materials. Are you very, very sure that these materials will get to where they ought to be? I remember there was a time we went to Kenya to monitor election, and a headmaster was taking the material. They gave the material to the headmaster to take to the village a week before time. And what I did was I just touched my chairman. Sir, these people are giving materials to take to the village a week before election. So he asked the chairman of the commission. The chairman of the commission said there is no problem. The man will deliver. But can you give such materials to anybody in Nigeria? Where are the problems? You give the material, even when they know that we overheard today where they attacked some of the rack centers where the materials were. So it is a problem that we're having until we are able to caution ourselves that this thing belongs to all of us. If you want to contest an election, you don't need to kill anybody. You don't need to snatch ballot boxes. You don't need to snatch beavers. All we need to do is let everybody know that if you don't win this time, you will win another time. You don't need to begin to sabotage maybe the transport union. For instance, you know that in one of the states, the leader of a union, some people had to go to court to stop the leader of a union from participating. And that same leader of the union, from the video that we've been seeing today, was the one that was telling some people, if you don't vote for this, leave this environment. And is it the same kind of person who is a leader of the union that you should give the INEC materials to go and distribute? These are the issues that we're having. So it is our own problems as Nigerians. We need to learn and then change our mentality, change our perception, change everything about how we do certain things. If we don't do it right, it is our own problem. If we do it right, it becomes a good thing for us.
Austin, looking at the logistics challenge, what solutions would you prescribe for INEC to solve this kind of challenge in future?
So first, let me add my voice to my brother's country. In Mali 2018, I saw motorcycle inside a forest with ballot box, ballot papers, and register. One presiding officer was riding it. And I asked my interpreter, I said, what's that? He said, those are voting materials. And I asked him, is there resources there? He said, yes, I can. That he can even stop the man. And really, we stopped the president officer. We asked him, he responded, he's from country, he responded, and he asked me, can I see the result? He opened the ballot box and brought out the result. They said, is there ballot paper? He brought out the ballot paper. In my subconsciousness, you try this in Nigeria, that president officer will be kidnapped, won't get home, that result will be written and then brought back. So what is the entire architecture like? Our political system is so challenged that the moment you become a political appointee today, even though you used to be, let me remove political appointee. If you are elected a council in this country, if you used to trek or used to use the rider or something like that, within 6 months, you have left the Tarakawas, you become the hub. The system, the way corruption and everything within the political system and governance system of our country is the one that is driving all of the things that we are seeing right now. Now back to the question about how do we improve our logistics. I have a challenge with the way with our voting system in Nigeria. We are 93.4 million registered voters. We cannot do the same thing over again and expect a different result. Elsewhere, just in small, sorry, not small, the Gambia registered number of voters is less than Ekiti State. And Ekiti State is the lowest of the registered voters in Nigeria. The Gambia used something like Mambo. So you destroy Mambo because it was a big deal. I feel that we are spending too much money on the ballot paper. If we take away the load of the ballot papers, we may reduce the bulk that DCOs need to carry. Where am I going? We should gradually, now that the Electoral Act 2022 has empowered INEC on digitalization of our electoral process, we can truly digitalize. I am not saying we should do internet voting so that people don't come later and start asking. We may not get to the point of internet voting now, that you can vote anywhere from around the world. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you can still go to the polling unit, but let there be a device with which you can click and vote. We would have been saving this country so much money. INEC is spending about 302 billion naira to conduct an election in a country that is so poor. But INEC needs the money to conduct elections. If we don't have an election sincerely all around the world is a pointer to consolidation of your democracy. So we can't say we're spending too much money on elections, so let's stop elections. No, we can't stop elections, but we can reduce the cost of elections. What am I saying? There's what we call sunk cost in economy. Once you have procured this device, like the divas, you already procured them. By the next year, even if you have to spend 302 billion in procuring those electronic devices, in the next 4 years, you won't need to procure them again. In the next 8 years, you will need to procure them again. Maybe the least you can do is just to update the application and so, but the device already been procured. Gradually, we will reduce the cost of our election. And I'll end with, as I summarize, in 2019, again, I like to pen this metaphor. In 2019, there were 84 million registered voters. In that election, less than 30 million people voted. Because President Buhari won with a little above 15 million, people second round got a little about 11 million, and all the other votes were about 1 million. Now that's say maybe rejected ballots and all of that. Let's say 30 million. Usually, INEC will print more than 84 million ballots. Let's assume INEC printed 100 million ballots. In that 100 million ballot that was printed, 30 million were used. So we didn't use assumption 70 million. Imagine that each ballot cost INEC 100 naira to print because all of those ballots have some security features in them. 100 naira. I like you to do the math. 100 naira times 70 million. That is what we bought. I like to use the word bond because after the election, those ballot papers are useless. So we literally will put them in a room or somewhere and use money again to buy fuel, to pour on them, and we have put, I see us burning money after election. So now we have 93.4 million voters, registered voters. And they could have printed maybe up to 120 million ballots. We hope that at least 70 I would pray that when we have that, then by the time we actually digitalize the process, we would have reduced the number of these. Which is, two people can climb, no, I don't know what side, but at least one vehicle can carry 20 people, Toyota Hiace or whatever, and just be dropping them from location to the other because they don't need so much pocket anymore. So that way, gradually, can reduce our cost of logistics and the kind of challenge we have today.
After monitoring elections over a period of time, there are time was in this country where ballot snatching, ballot box snatching, and everything was a threat. With technology and improvement, we have overcome all that. Today, with the developments that are happening within the electoral space, would you see Nigeria, and very soon, will overcome most of these challenges?
Yeah, I think so. I think we because if you compare since we came we returned to democracy in 1990, there have been improvements. At the time, we were not using moved, we migrated to what do you call it now? Smart card reader. We used smart card reader at the time it didn't work in some areas. We brought in Beavers. Beavers is one thing I can tell you that Beavers is one thing that helped for as many people who were thinking of rigging the election. So there is an improvement. I'm sure with time we will be able to improve more because with Beavers you do simultaneous accreditation at both. You get accredited if your fingerprint is not picking. When we're using the smart card reader, your fingerprint doesn't go through. You try and try. They say, okay, go and use whatever to clean your hand and all that. That one was one of the challenges. And for this one, if your fingerprint is not going through, your face, it picks your face because your photograph is already in the. So it is moving. And so what we need to do is to cooperate. All the stakeholders, all those working in INEC, the civil society groups, the political parties, the security, let everybody do their job effectively. Once they are able to do that, I'm sure there will be no problem. The only thing is that some people believe that it is the only way they can get to power. So you can use flood people, bring in people to ensure to create confusion. That shouldn't be, because I think that is the problem we're having. Let everybody cooperate to ensure that we get to the level we ought to get to. It is the responsibility of every one of us. We should not heap all the blame on it. We all have to work. And secondly, maybe let me bring this. The way the social media is going now with this election thing, the way the social media is going, with the results they are publishing, let it not be that they don't incite people to create confusion, because those results they are publishing may not be the actual result. Are they getting it through the IRS or what they just get and then you begin to publish? Because if the result doesn't tally with what they are publishing in the social media, and then when it is collated, the result is different, it's likely to bring some challenges. I think we need to really work on this. So the stakeholders across board to work together to ensure that we consolidate our democracy, that we don't bring it down. It's a hardcore democracy. So we need to really work hard as individuals, as corporate bodies, as every group work together, stakeholders in the electoral process, all work together to ensure that we have to consolidate this democracy. We cannot afford to toy with this, because when we go back, it's going to be dangerous.
As we wind down, let's take this report from Uche Ndike, who says the people are satisfied with the level of preparation put in place by INEC for the election. Let's listen to Uche.
Nigerians. Why we have problems in our country today is that most of the people that represent us, they were not actually the real elected representatives. They bought their ways with money. So let there be free and fair election. INEC has told us that our votes will count.
An indigenous of Obaru, Mr. Henry Nwebeli, describes the local government area as one of the flashpoints in the state and called on the Nigerian police to beef up security to ensure that people come out to cast their votes. Mr. Nwebeli also called on INEC to ensure early distribution of materials and commencement of the exercise, especially in all the riverine areas of the state.
I am entirely confident that INEC will do the needful. I'm encouraging them, looking at the right time to ensure that the election goes
A community leader, Ozo Obi Ocheje, who commended Governor Soludo and security agencies for the recent onslaught against criminal elements in the state, advised the electorate, especially the youth, to go to the polls and elect leaders of their choice, having in mind the future of the country. Also speaking, the head of department, election and party monitoring, INEC, OCA, Mr. Emmanuel Isong, pleaded with the stakeholders to allow the electoral umpire to do its job without interference.
So what we need to do is to speak with the solution, the stakeholders, to allow us to give us that peaceful environment for us to come out and vote for the president.
In an interview, the Commissioner for Homeland and Security Affairs, Mr. Chikodi Anara, commended INEC for the innovations made so far towards guaranteeing a seamless exercise, assuring that the Anambra State government would continue to provide a level playing ground for all.
And it is avoiding distraction because in every situation you cannot rule out the chances of people coming to the site. You can't say.
Despite the attacks on private and public facilities, including INEC and police stations, the police command in Anambra State said it is not deterred to protect the people at all times. The Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of Finance and Appropriation, Mr. Peter Ozigi, pledged the command's commitment to working with all stakeholders to provide public safety and adequate security before, during, and after the election.
The understanding and support of all the Nigerians, particularly political actors and other relevant stakeholders, very vital. I particularly acknowledge the critical role of the media in this process and specifically wish to encourage all media practitioners to place national security interests above other sentiments and avoid projecting news items that will engender tension and violence within the political space as the election holds.
For his part, the chairman, Nigerian Union of Journalists, Anambra State Council, Dr. Emeka Odogu, said the members of the First Estate of the realm are ready to monitor and report the elections as the proceedings unfold. Dr. Odogu therefore enjoined the security agencies to be civil and embrace international best practices in their relationship with the electorate.
This is a big transition that everybody must be ready for. INEC must prepare journalists and for the election. Everyone should be ready to come out and vote and not cause any problem, no matter the situation.
It is expected that all the critical stakeholders will play their assigned roles effectively towards achieving a good outcome which all Nigerians will be proud of. From Oka Ndeke, Radio Nigeria.
You are listening to Monday Studios on the network service of Radio Nigeria, where we bring you detailed accounts from the field and incisive analysis within the studio as the election unfolds. Let me thank you, Mr. We just got our colleague Rita Durumi is on the line from Niger. Hello, Rita.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Rita. What's the update from Niger?
Okay, thank you very much, sir. From Niger, just early in the morning, as at 7 a.m., we could see that voters were very anxious to cast their votes. They were patiently waiting at the polling units, even when the electoral officers were not around. And accreditation did not commence in most of the polling units on time because of some challenges which we were made to understand that they are because of logistic problems, and some of them did not get the materials on time. So generally, moving around the town in Mina, the elections started mostly at about 9:30, as against 8:30, which
the election was supposed to start in all the polling units because of these challenges. But I could see in the voters that they were still ready to vote candidates of their choice. They were still waiting patiently at the polling unit because they wanted to exercise their franchise. Though some of them expressed dismay that the election did not start on time, but they were still ready to wait despite the delay. At Nasarawa C registration area in Chanchaga local government in Mina, officials that were expected to be at their polling unit as at 7 a.m. to get ready for accreditation and voting, they were still stranded because of the challenges, even at 9:30 in the morning. Some of the presiding officers who I was able to talk to told me some of the challenges, which were the logistics problems and some other issues. Now, in Bosu local government area, where I also visited, accreditation started around 9:30, and people were orderly in Bosu local government area. They were busy voting the candidates of their choice. I was keen about the divas. So from what I got from the presiding officers, they said the divas were working perfectly well for them. They didn't have issues with the divas. But some voters, some eligible voters had issues because of the decongestion by INEC. Their names were not on the voters list because they had been decongested another polling unit. So they had to go there. Some went to the other polling unit and came back complaining that their names were not still there. Some were very angry, apprehensive that they will not be able to vote. Hello.
Hello, Rita. I'm with you.
Yes. Generally, there was a large turnout of voters in Mina, Chanchaga, and Bosu local government areas where I visited. Women were there, men were there, youth were there, happily waiting to vote the candidates of their choice. And there was restriction of movement in town. Security was present, there was heavy security present in town.
Thank you very much, Richard, for that update.
Thank you for having me.
Austin Ivy, the election has been conducted. Collation is in process. The chairman has invited Nigerians to the opening of the collation center. Moving forward, what would be your advice, Nigerians?
I think our eyes should be more focused on INEC now, because right now it's about the process of making the strongest election in a very most important election in the history of this country. Most important because it's the first time we're even talking about a fourth force ever since 1999 when we returned to democracy. We should be mindful of what we share, especially unverified information. Only INEC by law has the mandate to declare any candidate. But the only thing we can do is to follow through the process. I said here that we are as voters, you have the responsibility to go on the INEC result viewing portal to download your polling result to confirm that what you saw at the polling unit is exactly what is online, which means if any candidate wins, the candidate won the election. I think that's the most fundamental thing. Beginning from tomorrow, maybe up to Monday, Tuesday, where INEC may be returning the elected president. If it does conclude by the first ballot, it will be an interesting one. But our eyes is focused on INEC.
Osariki Imahiro, what are the lessons? What lessons have been learned from the polls today that we can improve upon during the governorship election in the next few weeks?
I know that if you check the turnout today, we used to have voter apathy, just like you said. So when you have, there was a tough vote. A lot of people wanted to be were involved, and the turnout today is very impressive because we used to have voter apathy. But one thing we have learned from this election is that a lot of people, more youth got involved in this election, and it's an improvement in the process. I'm sure that during the governorship election, I am not expecting that we're going to get this kind of. I'm not expecting that we're going to get this kind of because the personalities involved in the presidential election is what brought out this kind of numbers. But during the governorship election, I doubt whether we're going to have this. I just hope they won't have voter apathy because any party that wins today during today's election, they have what the bandwagon effect in the government. But if the party that wins today do not have enough people contesting the governorship election, it just some people might just be not be interested in the electoral process. But one thing is very certain: the outcome today, the turnout today was quite impressive. And I like to commend Nigerians for being interested so that we increase instead of having less than 50%. We are able to get about 50% or more than that. I think.
Austin, what will be your parting words?
Congratulations, Nigerians. We did it. This is an election many people thought was going to result in some maybe a red day for Nigeria, but somehow it has become a peaceful day. But let's keep calm. Don't spread that news if you cannot independently verify it. Don't spread any fake news because you don't know who it may hurt. You know the general saying, or the general saying, like, you don't, when you throw the stone in the market, you don't know who it will hurt. That fake news you may share may actually come back to you and it will really hurt you. So avoid it. Don't spread fake news. It is important that we continue to pray for Nigeria. God bless Nigeria. I'm happy being in Nigeria.
Let me thank Mr. Austin Igwe and Mr. Osariti Ima Yerebo for your time and your incisive analysis. And I also want to thank everyone who has been part of the production, starting from the Director General, Dr. Mansur Liman, Director's Program, Mrs. Soshimaki, Director News, Usaina Akila, Director Engineering, Sanda Askira, Director Sports and Outside Broadcasting, Abba Zayan, Director ICT, Gidado Ibrahim, the production team from Programs, News, Engineering, Sports and Outside Broadcasting, and ICT Directorates. My name is Suleiman Musa, and I thank you for staying with us on Monday Studio. Join us again tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Thank you.